The main character is Henry Park. Um, he's the son of a Korean immigrant. His mom, who he's very close to, they have a tight relationship, being the only two members left of their family. And he's a quiet, he's a thoughtful kid. But since the story takes place over the course of his life, we see him grow into sort of more of an extroverted, more of sort of a man of the people. Um, it's it's almost like he becomes a politician. There's not really anything, but he becomes really a big member of the community, and big in all senses of the word. He's actually kind of a large man. He's got a big appetite for food as much as he has an appetite for films, as he has an appetite for friendship. Um, he is someone who sort of on the surface doesn't really have a lot of bad qualities. He's kind of a positive person. That's because the way the story is written, it's almost like an urban legend, like about this guy who embarks on this ambitious, almost otherworldly task of watching 100,000 movies. So it's told with reverence. It's told, it's told almost like an in-depth magazine piece. And he's also a very sweet guy. I mean, he doesn't really have skeletons in his closet. He has his own self-esteem issues. And also he's like anyone who embarks upon an ambitious project that, in this case, will take his whole lifetime. He's nervous on some level. He can't always envision the rest of his life. He can envision watching all those movies, but he can't envision how the rest of his life would support that. He manages to find a career and find a lifestyle that supports this, but he still struggles with his own sense of imagining his own future. He's so kind of focused on the movies and focused on caring for people beside him that he can't quite envision his own future. It's almost like Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life, where he sort of keeps giving himself to the movies, he keeps giving himself to the people in his life, that he is sometimes left with not enough for himself. It was inspired by sort of my own quest for cinephilia. It's only been in the past, like, I don't know, 5-6 years, I've kept like actual journal of all the films I'm watching. And of course, I can't help but, see how my numbers stack up. A lot of people in the cinephile community in LA do year-end lists like, oh, I watched a movie a day, so I watched 365 movies, or I watched 500 movies, or, I was never able to crack even the movie a day average. I think the most I've ever watched in a movie is 300. So, and I don't know, it's hard not to like get caught up in the horse race of those numbers and not even not imagine, like, if I had a career of, watching a movie a day for 20 years, how many movies would that be? So I, like Henry, did the calculations of how much it would be to watch a million movies, realized that was impossible, but 100,000 is sort of this uncanny possibility. I mean, you'd have to, like I say in the story, you'd have to watch 4 movies a day for 70 years. So basically you are devoting every day your whole life to it. But, when I worked at these movie theaters, I met people who didn't seem like they were too far afield from those tasks, from those sort of gargantuan tasks. These were people who kind of lived at the movie theaters. There's a great documentary called Cinemania, which focuses on these people in New York. And these are people that are, generally older, maybe retired, maybe even living off disability, that don't have a regular day-to-day job. So they just go around to movies. And I hope that the story communicates like sort of what movies can give to people who have maybe lost something or don't have a lot of people in their life. It's sort of a tribute to those people, the people I worked with. Sort of his story revolves around a specific movie theater, which is inspired by the New Beverly Cinema, where I worked at for 5 years. There's a character in there inspired by the cinema's owner, Quentin Tarantino, a sort of larger-than-life filmmaker who gives back to the cinephile community by keeping this repertory theater alive, and sort of takes Henry under his wing as a cinephile mentor. The story will appeal to anyone who loves movies. I don't name any of the movies that Henry sees, but I describe them. Like, it's the one about the skateboarding teenager who goes back in time and has to harness the power of lightning. And it's sort of like a little, almost a crossword puzzle throughout the story for cinephiles to figure out which movies I'm talking about. But I think the story will appeal to anyone, yeah, who has that love of movies, or even if you don't love movies that much, I hope that it appeals to someone who uh, has any sort of passion. Like, I think the power of storytelling is it can make you care about things you wouldn't otherwise care about. The story covers Henry's whole life, so I think anyone who sort of enjoys a short story that can pack the sort of punch of an entire arc. I think the story was also inspired by the works of John Irving, who's a writer I read a lot growing up, whose stories basically follow their main character from birth to death. He does it usually in, several hundred pages, and I tried to pack that kind of energy into a short story. You can find The 100 Grand Man and other great stories at rivercliffbooks.com.